Last night, while the D.C. elite and swamp dwellers patted each other on the back at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, President Trump held a rally in Wisconsin, clearly showing why he won in 2016 and why real people across the country love him. All right, so I just want to set this up. This weekend, Peggy Noonan had a really smart piece in the Wall Street Journal where she kind of explained why the establishment and all the insiders in Washington, D.C. hate Trump. She set that out really clearly. But when you see these clips, I'm just going to play a couple of clips from last night's rally. It just really tells you why you and regular people absolutely love the president. Let's start with this one about Saudi Arabia.
But the military, we subsidize Saudi Arabia. I called the king. I like the king. I said, King, we're losing our ass defending you, King, and you have a lot of money. So we're working a deal with Saudi Arabia.
OK, so as we all did around the table, we just absolutely love that. Why? Because he's totally getting rid of that old language, all the diplomacy and all the rest of it, which covers up all these failures and retreats from American policy. You can bet all the diplomats in Washington would think, oh, my God, how can he talk like that? The fact that he talks like that is why people love him. Let's have a look at the next clip about prescription drug prices.
Prescription drugs, look, it's a rigged system, okay? If I told you how crazy it is, the web, it's a web. You need 193 IQ to even understand this web of geniuses. They put this thing to lower a drug price. It has 19 effects here and 27. We got it down, and we're getting it down further.
So what is brilliant about that is that he is, unlike other politicians who they run for office, they get elected, they go native, they go into government and they just basically become part of the establishment. He's still there. He is representing the people in government, and he's coming back and saying, can you believe these people in the government? They're so crazy, these geniuses, they make it all complicated. He's representing the people inside government rather than government to the people. It's a really important, deep point. And then finally, this last one, a short one, captures it all. Let's have a look.
You have always been loyal to this nation. Now you finally have a president who is loyal to you.
I mean, that's in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about time.
Here we go.
Bravo. I see Trump talk, and I'm like, yeah, man, this is I feel like he's saying exactly what I would say if I got to be president. You know, you've always had this dream. Mr. Smith goes to Washington, you just tell it like it is. I always imagine if I got there, I'd be like, y'all, look how crazy this place is. Like, you won't believe it. I looked into prescription drug theory, prices, and it's insane. That's how he talks, and it's so attractive, and he's never better when he's at a rally.
He's totally
never
agree with that.
better, and he hasn't stopped rallying since 2016, and good on him. Why would he go to that stuffy old dinner last night when he could go and be adored and people laughing and cheering with him? If I could get 1,000 people outside of these studios to rally for Kira Davis, I would not be on this show. Yeah,
well,
I would
we're
choose
very
that
upset by that. I think, anyway.
So we'll make that happen.
Well, the thing that people love about Donald Trump is not just because he's a great performer. He speaks like we do, but also he's willing to go to these places on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, or instead of going to fancy dinners, and he talks like people talk. He doesn't talk down to people. He doesn't say, well, I'm smarter than you, so you should understand what I'm saying, and go bring it back and tell people how great and how articulate I am. He's saying, I speak like you do. I'm a businessman. I have a lot of money. Clearly, I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to bring it down to your level. I'm going to talk to you like fellow Americans.
That's right.
And that's why people love him.
Yeah, and he's gone there, and he hasn't been corrupted by it. He's still in there, the outsider, fighting the establishment.
Yeah, and people underestimate the power of this. I mean, he's the premier political entertainer. I mean, who else can go up night after night for an hour and entertain a crowd of thousands? He's really the only one that can do it. But what that really stands for, though, is his commitment, really, to bringing the heat against the ruling class and explaining to the people the many ways in which the ruling class has been screwing them for decades.
Maybe that's been an advantage of this 2-year slog of investigations that has kept him on the outside. There's not been temptation to necessarily become an insider because the door's been closed to him so heavily.
He also doesn't need it. He doesn't
Right.
need to think about if I'm gone in 2 years, if I'm gone in 6 years. He doesn't need to think, well, what's my next job going to be? He's like, no, as he said last night, when I leave you in 6 years, I'm going to leave this country in great shape, and I'm going to be so happy, and I'm going to go back to my life and live my life and be the businessman that I am and be Donald Trump again. So he doesn't need to go be a lobbyist. He doesn't need to go be, give speeches for 200,000. He can go back to being Donald Trump. He just wants to save the country.
That is a very deep point. I totally agree.